You're floating in the warm waters of a coral reef, just a tiny transparent sphere, barely visible to the naked eye. You're not much bigger than a grain of sand, drifting with the current alongside thousands of your siblings. There's no fanfare, no celebration, just you and the vast ocean that will either make you or break you. Most of your brothers and sisters won't make it past the next few hours. That's not pessimism. That's just reality when you're born as a needlefish. Your mother didn't stick around to see you hatch. She deposited her eggs weeks ago, attaching them to floating seaweed with sticky threads, then disappeared back into the depths. Your father was gone before the eggs were even fertilized. This is your life now, completely on your own in an ocean that doesn't care whether you live or die. At first, you can't even swim properly. You're basically a floating blob with a yolk sac attached to your belly. That yolk is your lifeline, packed with all the nutrients you need for the first few days. You don't hunt, you don't think, you just drift and absorb whatever energy that yolk provides. But it won't last forever, and when it runs out, you better know how to feed yourself. Around you, the water teems with microscopic predators. Jellyfish larvae pulse through the water, their transparent bodies nearly invisible until they're right on top of you. Copepods dart around like underwater bullets, snapping up anything they can fit in their mouths. Fish larvae bigger than you cruise by, scanning for easy meals. You're basically floating in a soup of things that want to eat you. The ocean current carries you along, whether you like it or not. Sometimes, you drift toward the reef, where colorful fish dart between coral formations. Other times, the current pushes you out toward open water, where the bottom disappears into an endless blue void. You have no control over where you go, no say in your destination. The ocean decides, and you just go along for the ride. Your yolk sac shrinks day by day. Soon it's nothing but a small bump on your belly. Then it's gone entirely. Now comes the hard part, learning how to eat. Your mouth is tiny, barely big enough to swallow the smallest plankton. You don't have teeth yet, just a simple opening that you hope can grab something edible before something else grabs you. Your first meal is a microscopic algae cell. It doesn't taste like anything, but it fills the empty space in your gut. You swallow another, then another. It's not exciting food, but it keeps you alive. Around you, other larvae are doing the same thing, competing for the same floating specks of nutrition. Some are faster than you, some are slower. The fast ones get more food, the slow ones start to weaken. Then disaster strikes. A school of adult anchovies sweeps through the area like a living storm. Their mouths gape open, filtering massive amounts of water and everything in it. You see your siblings getting sucked up by the dozens, disappearing into those cavernous mouths without even a struggle. You try to swim away, but your fins are still too weak to fight the current they create. One anchovy heads straight for you. Its mouth opens wider than your entire body, and you can see straight down its throat. This is it. This is how your story ends before it even begins. But at the last second, a stronger current from a passing wave pushes you sideways. The anchovy misses by millimeters, its mouth snapping shut on empty water. You tumble through the turbulence, spinning end over end until the school passes. When the water calms, you look around. Half your siblings are gone, swallowed up in less than 30 seconds. The survivors float, scattered across a much wider area, each of you alone with our thoughts. Well, maybe thoughts is too strong a word. You don't really think yet. You just react to whatever the ocean throws at you. Days pass, and something changes. Your body starts to elongate, stretching out like someone's pulling you from both ends. Your fins grow stronger, your tail becomes more defined. Most importantly, your mouth begins to develop into something more useful. It's still small, but it's getting the distinctive pointed shape that will define your entire life. You're not just eating algae anymore. Tiny copepod larvae drift within range, and you snap them up without hesitation. They're meatier than plant matter, packed with protein that fuels your growing body. Each successful hunt makes you a little bit stronger, a little bit faster. But hunting also makes you visible to things that hunt you. A comb jelly drifts toward you, its transparent body pulsing with rainbow colors. It looks beautiful, almost hypnotic, but you've learned not to trust anything in the ocean. Those trailing tentacles aren't decorations. They're loaded with stinging cells that paralyze anything they touch. You dart away just as one tentacle brushes past where you were floating a second before. The reef becomes your hunting ground. During the day, you hover near coral formations where tiny organisms get trapped in the current. You've developed a technique now, hanging motionless until prey drifts within striking distance, then snapping forward with lightning speed. Your success rate is improving, but it's still far from perfect. At night, everything changes. The reef transforms into a completely different world as nocturnal predators emerge from their hiding spots. Moray eels slide out of crevices, their snake-like bodies undulating through the water. Octopi unfold from coral, where they've been camouflaged all day, their 8 arms reaching into every crack and crevice. You learn to hide during these dangerous hours, wedging yourself into gaps between coral branches where larger predators can't reach. But even there, you're not completely safe. Bristleworms emerge from the reef substrate, their segmented bodies bristling with poisonous spines. They can fit into spaces even smaller than you, and they're always hungry. One night, you make a mistake. Instead of hiding deep in the coral, you linger near the edge of the reef, attracted by a concentration of small prey. A mantis shrimp spots you from its burrow. These aren't like the shrimp you might imagine. They're armored killing machines with club-like appendages that can strike with the force of a bullet. The mantis shrimp launches itself toward you, its clubs extended. You have maybe half a second to react. You twist sideways, feeling the water pressure from its strike as it misses your head by a fraction. The clubs slam into the coral behind you with such force that chips of calcium carbonate explode in all directions. You don't stick around to see if it will try again. You rocket away from the reef, out into the open water where at least you can see threats coming. The mantis shrimp doesn't follow. It's already lost interest and returned to its burrow. But the lesson is clear. Every second of hesitation in the ocean can be your last. Weeks pass, and your body continues its transformation. You're recognizably a needlefish now, though still incredibly small compared to what you'll eventually become. Your jaw has elongated into a pointed beak lined with tiny sharp teeth. Your body has stretched into the streamlined torpedo shape that will make you one of the ocean's most efficient predators. But predator is a relative term. Sure, you can hunt copepods and small larvae now, but you're still bite-sized for countless other creatures. Schools of juvenile tuna patrol the reef edges, their eyes scanning for anything that moves. Barracuda hang in the blue water beyond the reef, motionless until something triggers their explosive hunting instinct. You've developed a new strategy for survival: speed. Your tail has become incredibly powerful for your size, capable of launching you through the water at speeds that surprise even larger fish. When a threat appears, you don't try to hide anymore. You just outrun it. This works most of the time, but not always. A yellowfin tuna juvenile spots you during one of your hunting expeditions. It's only slightly larger than you, but in the ocean, slightly larger often means the difference between predator and prey. The tuna accelerates toward you, its powerful tail driving it forward like a living torpedo. You turn and flee, your own tail beating frantically as you race toward the safety of the reef. The tuna is faster in straight-line speed, but you have one advantage: maneuverability. You dart between coral heads, making sharp turns that force the tuna to slow down. It follows you into the reef structure, but the complex terrain favors you now. You slip through a gap between two coral formations that's just wide enough for your streamlined body. The tuna tries to follow, but gets stuck halfway through, its broader body wedged in the opening. You escape deeper into the reef, while the tuna thrashes its way back out to open water, frustrated and empty-mouthed. These close calls are becoming routine. Every day brings new challenges, new predators, new ways the ocean tries to kill you. But you're adapting, learning, getting stronger. Your hunting skills improve with each successful strike. Your escape tactics become more sophisticated with each near-death experience. The reef community starts to feel familiar now. You recognize individual fish, know which ones are threats and which ones ignore you. There's a group of parrotfish that graze on algae all day, their powerful beaks scraping against the coral. They're too big to see you as prey, so you sometimes hunt in their shadow, picking up the small creatures they disturb. A cleaning station operates near a large coral head, where small wrasses remove parasites from larger fish. You've learned to avoid this area during busy periods when big predators come to get cleaned. But during quiet times, you can hunt the tiny parasites and debris that float away from the cleaning process. Your body continues growing and changing. The juvenile transparency that once helped you hide is fading, replaced by the silver and blue coloration that will camouflage you in open water. Your jaw keeps elongating, and your teeth become sharper and more numerous. You're transforming from a small prey item into something that will eventually become a formidable hunter. But that transformation is still weeks away. Right now, you're caught in the dangerous middle ground where you're too big to hide effectively, but not big enough to defend yourself against serious threats. This is when most needlefish die, during this vulnerable transition period when their bodies are changing faster than their survival skills can adapt. The current carries new challenges your way every day. Sometimes it brings rich concentrations of food that make hunting easy. Other times it delivers swarms of jellyfish whose stinging tentacles turn the water into a minefield. You learn to read the subtle signs, changes in water temperature, different smells, the behavior of other creatures that tell you what's coming your way. A school of squid juveniles drifts into your territory one afternoon, their translucent bodies pulsing as they move in perfect synchronization. They're about your size, maybe slightly smaller, but there are dozens of them. In the ocean, numbers matter more than individual size, and you know better than to challenge an entire school. You watch from a safe distance as they hunt together, surrounding small fish and closing in like a living net. Their tentacles flash out with precision, grabbing prey and pulling it back to razor-sharp beaks. It's efficient, brutal, and completely coordinated. You file this observation away. Someday you might need to hunt in groups too, but for now, you're strictly a solo operation. The reef's rhythm becomes second nature to you. Morning brings the plankton bloom as sunlight penetrates the water and microscopic plants begin photosynthesis. This is prime hunting time, when the water fills with tiny organisms trying to catch those first rays of light. You position yourself in the feeding lanes, letting the current bring breakfast directly to you. Midday means deeper hunting, as the sun drives most small prey into the shadows of the reef. You learn to navigate the maze of coral formations, slipping through crevices and following the complex water flows that carry scent trails. Your lateral line system, a series of sensory organs along your sides, becomes incredibly sensitive to the smallest movements in the water around you. But it's the afternoon hunt that really tests your skills. This is when the big predators start moving, and competition for food becomes fierce. Jacks patrol the reef edges in silver flashes. Groupers emerge from their caves to claim the best hunting spots. Trumpetfish hang vertically among sea fans, their elongated bodies perfectly camouflaged until they strike. You develop your own hunting technique during these crowded hours. Instead of competing directly with the larger predators, you follow them at a safe distance. When a grouper makes a kill, it often misses some of the smaller fish that scatter in panic. That's when you strike, picking off the stragglers while the grouper is distracted with its main course. This strategy works until the day you get too greedy. A Nassau grouper corners a school of juvenile grunts against a coral wall, and you position yourself to catch the escapees. The grouper strikes, its massive mouth engulfing several grunts in one gulp. The survivors scatter in every direction, and you dart forward to grab one. But you're not the only opportunist in the area. A green moray eel slides out from a crack in the coral, moving faster than anything that large should be able to move. Its jaws snap shut just inches behind your tail as you rocket away from the reef wall. You feel the pressure wave from its strike, the displacement of water that would have crushed your spine if you'd been a split second slower. The eel doesn't pursue. It's already found an easier target among the scattered grunts. But the message is clear. Every meal in the ocean comes with risk, and overconfidence kills faster than starvation. You retreat to safer hunting grounds, your heart still racing from the close encounter. Days blur together in a constant cycle of hunt, hide, and survive. Your body keeps changing, growing longer and more streamlined with each passing week. Your jaw extends further, giving you the reach to strike prey from greater distances. Your swimming muscles develop the explosive power that will eventually make you one of the fastest fish in the ocean. The transformation brings new challenges. Your increased size makes you visible to predators that previously ignored you, but you're still not large enough to intimidate anything significant. A reef shark cruises past during one of your hunting sessions, its dead eyes scanning the water methodically. You freeze, hoping your stillness will make you invisible. The shark doesn't see you, but something else does. A barracuda materializes from the blue water beyond the reef, its silver body cutting through the current with mechanical precision. Barracuda are ambush predators par excellence, capable of explosive acceleration that can close a 20-foot gap in under a second. This one is hunting, and you're in its territory. You can see the predatory focus in its unblinking stare, the slight adjustment of its fins as it positions itself for a strike. Running won't work. Barracuda are built for speed. Hiding is impossible in open water. Your only option is to do something unexpected. You swim directly toward the barracuda. Not fast, not aggressively, but just a steady approach that confuses its hunting algorithm. Prey doesn't usually swim toward predators, and the barracuda hesitates for a crucial second. In that moment of confusion, you dive straight down, using the coral formations below as cover. The barracuda follows, but the reef environment neutralizes its speed advantage. You weave through coral branches, making sharp turns that force the larger fish to slow down. After a few seconds of futile pursuit, the barracuda gives up and returns to the open water, where its hunting style is more effective. You've learned something important. Sometimes the best defense is doing exactly what your enemy doesn't expect. This lesson will serve you well in the months to come, as the ocean continues to test your survival skills in increasingly creative ways. The reef community begins to shift as you grow larger. Fish that once ignored you now see you as either a potential threat or a potential meal. Your hunting success rate improves dramatically as your speed and striking range increase, but so does the number of creatures willing to take a shot at eating you. An octopus takes up residence in a coral cave near your favorite hunting spot. You don't see it at first. Octopus are masters of camouflage, capable of matching not just the color, but the texture of their surroundings. You only notice it when a crab gets too close to the cave entrance and 8 arms explode outward, dragging the struggling crustacean into the darkness. The octopus becomes a constant concern. You know it's there, but you can never be sure exactly where until it moves. Its arms can extend much further than you initially estimate, and its intelligence makes it unpredictable. Unlike fish, which follow relatively simple behavioral patterns, octopi think and plan and adapt their strategies based on what they observe. You develop a wide berth around that section of reef, but the octopus seems to be expanding its territory. You spot it hunting in areas where you've never seen it before, always perfectly camouflaged until the moment it strikes. Its presence forces you to hunt in less productive areas, which means longer periods between meals and increased exposure to other predators. The hunger becomes a constant companion. Your growing body demands more food than ever before, but the competition for that food intensifies daily. Larger needlefish patrol the outer reef areas, claiming the best hunting territories for themselves. You're forced to hunt in the shallows, where the water is warmer and the prey smaller, but where juvenile sharks cruise looking for easy meals. A lemon shark pup discovers your hunting ground one morning. It's only slightly larger than you, but sharks are built differently. More muscle, more teeth, more predatory instinct packed into every inch of their bodies. The pup circles your area like it owns it, and maybe it does. In the ocean, ownership usually goes to whoever is willing to fight hardest for it. You don't challenge the shark directly. Instead, you wait and watch, learning its patterns. The pup hunts in a predictable routine, making sweeping passes through the area every few minutes. Between passes, there are gaps of opportunity where you can dart in, grab a quick meal, and disappear before it returns. This strategy works for several days until the pup gets wise to your presence. It starts varying its patrol pattern, sometimes doubling back unexpectedly or approaching from different angles. The game of cat and mouse becomes increasingly complex, with both of you trying to outwit the other. The confrontation finally comes when you both spot the same prey, a small fish wounded by some earlier encounter, struggling weakly near the bottom. You're closer, but the shark is faster over short distances. You dart forward just as the pup accelerates toward the same target. The collision happens at full speed. The shark's nose slams into your side, sending you tumbling through the water while stars explode across your vision. The impact should have stunned you, should have given the shark time to finish what it started, but your needlefish instincts kick in, and you straighten out of the tumble into a perfect escape trajectory. The shark tries to follow, but you're already 3 body lengths ahead and accelerating. Your streamlined shape cuts through the water with minimal resistance, while the shark's broader body creates drag that slows its pursuit. You reach the safety of the coral maze before the pup can close the gap. From that day forward, there's an understanding between you and the lemon shark. The reef is big enough for both of you, but direct competition leads to injuries neither of you can afford. You develop separate hunting schedules, separate territories, separate strategies for survival in an ocean that doesn't care about either of you. Your body reaches a new milestone. You're no longer truly small. At 6 inches long, you're still far from adult size, but you're big enough to be taken seriously by other reef residents. Your jaw has developed the full needlefish profile, long and pointed, and lined with dozens of sharp teeth. Your tail has become a powerful propulsion system capable of launching you through the water at impressive speeds. The transformation changes everything about how you interact with your environment. Prey that once ignored you now flee when they see you coming. Predators that once dismissed you as too small to bother with now track your movements with interest. You're entering the dangerous middle ground of ocean life, too big to hide, not yet big enough to dominate. But middle ground in the ocean is temporary. You either grow out of it or die in it. Your hunting instincts sharpen with every successful kill. The technique you've developed is simple but effective. Hang motionless in the water column until prey drifts within range, then explode forward with a strike so fast that most victims don't even see it coming. Your elongated jaw gives you reach that other predators your size can't match. You've learned to read the water like a book. Subtle changes in current direction tell you when a school of fish is approaching. Variations in water temperature reveal the presence of upwellings that bring nutrient-rich water and the small organisms that feed on it. The behavior of other fish gives you early warning about larger predators moving through the area. A school of silversides becomes your regular target. These small, shimmering fish move in tight formations that pulse and flow like liquid metal. They're fast individually, but their group behavior makes them predictable. You position yourself along their regular migration route, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The attack has to be precise. Hit the school too early or too late, and they scatter in all directions, making follow-up strikes impossible. But catch them at the right moment, when they're tightly packed and moving in a straight line, and you can grab 2 or 3 before they know what happened. Your first attempt is a disaster. You strike too early when the school is still spread out. Your target sees you coming and darts away, triggering a panic response that sends the entire school exploding in different directions. You manage to catch one straggler, but it's a poor return for all the energy you expended. The second attempt goes better. You wait until the silversides are moving through a narrow channel between 2 coral heads, forcing them into a compact formation. Your strike connects perfectly, your jaws closing around a fish that never saw you coming. The school scatters, but you're already retreating to safety with your meal. Success breeds confidence, but confidence in the ocean can be fatal. You start taking bigger risks, striking at larger prey, hunting in more dangerous areas. For a while, luck stays with you. Your reflexes are sharp, your timing is perfect, your escape routes are well planned. Then you meet something that changes everything. It starts as just another hunting opportunity. A small parrotfish, maybe 2 inches long, grazes on algae near the reef edge. It's bigger than your usual prey, but well within your striking range. The fish is focused on feeding, completely unaware of your presence. Easy target, easy meal. You position yourself carefully, accounting for the current and the parrotfish's movement pattern. Everything looks perfect. You tense your muscles, prepare for the strike, and launch yourself forward with explosive speed. Your jaws open wide, ready to close around your target, but the parrotfish isn't alone. A massive shape erupts from the reef, a Goliath grouper that's been lying motionless in a coral cave, so perfectly camouflaged that you never saw it. The grouper's mouth opens like a cavern, creating a suction so powerful that it pulls water from 20 feet away. You're caught in that current, being dragged inexorably toward jaws that could swallow a dozen fish your size without effort. Your first instinct is to swim against the current, but that's exactly wrong. Fighting the suction just exhausts you while the grouper draws you closer. Instead, you do something counterintuitive. You swim perpendicular to the suction, using the current's edge to slingshot yourself away from the grouper's mouth. The technique works, but barely. You rocket past the grouper's head close enough to see the rows of teeth lining its throat. The massive fish snaps its jaws shut on empty water, creating a pressure wave that tumbles you end over end. When you finally stabilize, you're 50 feet away and shaking from the close call. The parrotfish, meanwhile, has completely disappeared, either swallowed by the grouper or fled to safety while you were fighting for your life. You're left with nothing but an elevated heart rate and a new understanding of how quickly the ocean can turn deadly. That encounter changes your hunting strategy completely. You become more cautious, more observant, more aware that every situation might contain hidden dangers. Before approaching any prey, you spend long minutes studying the surrounding area, looking for the telltale signs of larger predators. It slows down your hunting, reduces your success rate, but it keeps you alive. The reef community continues to evolve around you. Seasonal changes bring new species, while others disappear. A school of juvenile barracuda takes up residence near the outer reef edge, their silver bodies forming a living wall that patrols the drop-off. They're not much bigger than you individually, but they hunt in coordinated groups that make them incredibly dangerous. You watch them work one afternoon, mesmerized by their efficiency. A school of anchovies approaches the reef, and the young barracuda spread out in a perfect ambush formation. Some position themselves below the anchovies, others above, still others on the flanks. When the trap is set, they close in from all directions simultaneously. The slaughter is over in seconds. Anchovies thrash and flee in every direction, but there's nowhere to go. The barracuda strike with mechanical precision, their razor-sharp teeth cutting through the water like living blades. Within moments, the clear water turns cloudy with blood and scales. You file this observation away for future reference. Someday, when you're larger, you might need to hunt in groups yourself, or more likely, you might need to defend against group hunters. Either way, understanding pack tactics could mean the difference between life and death. Your body continues its relentless growth. 7 inches now, then 8. Your jaw extends further with each passing week, giving you the reach to strike prey from distances that would have been impossible just months ago. Your swimming speed increases dramatically as your muscles develop and your body becomes more streamlined. But growth brings new challenges. Your increased size makes you visible to predators that previously ignored you, while you're still not large enough to intimidate anything significant. You're caught in the awkward adolescent phase where you're too big to hide effectively, but not big enough to fight back against serious threats. A tiger shark appears on the reef one morning, its distinctive stripes clearly visible even from a distance. Tiger sharks are apex predators, capable of eating almost anything in the ocean. Your size puts you squarely in their preferred prey range, big enough to be worth eating, small enough to be swallowed easily. The shark doesn't hunt actively like the smaller predators you're used to. Instead, it patrols slowly through the reef, its presence alone enough to change the behavior of every other creature in the area. Fish disappear into crevices. Octopi press themselves against coral walls. Even the cleaning stations shut down as their clients flee to deeper water. You have 2 choices. Leave your territory and hope the shark moves on, or stay hidden and wait it out. Neither option is appealing. Leaving means abandoning the hunting grounds you know best and venturing into unfamiliar areas where other predators might be waiting. Staying means going without food for however long the shark decides to remain in the area. You choose to stay, wedging yourself deep into a coral crevice where even the tiger shark's powerful suction can't reach you. Hours pass. The shark patrols methodically, checking every cave and overhang for hidden prey. It passes within inches of your hiding spot, its massive bulk blocking out the sun and casting everything into shadow. The waiting becomes a test of endurance. Your muscles cramp from staying motionless for so long. Hunger gnaws at your belly as mealtimes come and go. Worse, you can see prey fish moving just outside your hiding spot, tantalizingly close but impossible to reach while the shark is nearby. Finally, after what feels like forever, the tiger shark moves on to hunt in deeper water. You emerge from your hiding spot stiff and starving but alive. The reef slowly returns to normal as other creatures venture out of their own hiding places. Within an hour, it's as if the shark was never there, except for the empty spaces where some fish used to be. The encounter teaches you about the ocean's hierarchy in a way no previous experience has. Size and speed and hunting skill all matter, but they're nothing compared to raw predatory power. The tiger shark didn't need to be fast or clever or strategic. It just needed to be big enough and dangerous enough that everything else got out of its way. You've reached 9 inches now, officially transitioning from juvenile to subadult. Your coloration has changed from the transparent silver of youth to the blue-green camouflage that will help you blend with open water. Your teeth have multiplied and sharpened, turning your jaw into a formidable weapon lined with dozens of needle-sharp points. The reef that once seemed enormous now feels constraining. Your hunting grounds are well established, your escape routes memorized, your competition understood. But something deeper is calling you, an instinct that pulls you toward that open ocean beyond the reef's protective embrace. You start making longer excursions away from the coral formations, testing yourself against the challenges of blue water hunting. Out here, there's nowhere to hide when predators appear, but there's also more space to maneuver and escape. The prey is different too. Schools of small tuna, flying fish that leap from wave to wave, squid that pulse through the water column in organized formations. Your first open water hunt is a revelation. A school of juvenile mackerel streams past, their silver bodies flashing in the sunlight that filters down from above. You position yourself below them, using the sun's glare to mask your approach. When you strike, your target has no coral formations to duck behind, no crevices to hide in. It's just you, your prey, and the vast blue emptiness of the open ocean. The kill is clean and efficient. Your elongated jaw gives you the reach to strike from below, while your streamlined body cuts through the water with minimal resistance. The mackerel tries to escape, but in open water, speed and agility favor the needlefish. You swallow your prize and immediately scan for threats, knowing that blood in the water attracts attention from much larger predators. Open water hunting requires different skills than reef hunting. There are no ambush points, no coral formations to provide cover. Success depends entirely on speed, timing, and the ability to strike from unexpected angles. You learn to hunt from below, using the sun's glare as camouflage. You master the art of approaching prey from their blind spots, timing your strikes for the moment when schools change direction and individual fish lose track of their surroundings. But open water also exposes you to predators that don't exist on the reef. Mahi-mahi crews, the blue water in search of small fish, their distinctive profile unmistakable even from a distance. Wahoo patrol, the thermoclines where warm surface water meets cooler depths, their torpedo-shaped bodies built for explosive speed. Most dangerous of all, Schools of yellowfin tuna hunt in coordinated groups, their intelligence and teamwork making them nearly unstoppable when they decide to target something. You encounter your first tuna school during what should have been a routine hunting expedition. The water seems empty, just endless blue stretching in all directions, when suddenly they appear, dozens of yellowfin tuna moving in perfect formation like a naval squadron. Each fish is only slightly larger than you, but together they represent overwhelming force. The tuna aren't hunting randomly. They're working a bait ball, a tight sphere of small fish that they've herded into a defensive formation. The bait fish swirl in desperate circles while the tuna take turns striking from the outside, each attack carefully coordinated to prevent the school from escaping. You should leave immediately. This is not your fight, not your territory, not your concern. But the feeding frenzy creates opportunities. When the tuna strike the bait ball, panicked fish scatter in all directions. Some of those escapees are perfect needlefish prey, and they're too focused on avoiding the tuna to notice you approaching. You position yourself on the edge of the action, ready to pick off stragglers without getting too close to the main event. It's a calculated risk. Stay far enough away to avoid the tuna, close enough to capitalize on their hunting success. The plan works perfectly for the first few strikes. You manage to catch 2 escaping anchovies while the tuna are focused on the main bait ball. Then one of the tuna notices you. It breaks away from the coordinated attack and heads straight for you, its crescent tail driving it forward with mechanical precision. You turn to flee, but this isn't a reef where coral formations can break up the pursuit. This is open water, and the tuna is built for exactly this kind of chase. The race becomes a test of pure speed and endurance. The tuna has more muscle mass, but your streamlined shape gives you an advantage in sustained swimming. You stretch out into the perfect needlefish profile, head down, body arrow straight, tail beating with metronomic efficiency. For long minutes, the distance between you remains constant. The tuna can't gain on you, but you can't pull away either. Both of you are swimming at maximum sustainable speed, burning through energy reserves that will soon be exhausted. Whoever runs out of fuel first will lose this race, and losing means death. Then you remember something from your reef hunting days, the power of unexpected direction changes. Without warning, you dive straight down, your body folding into a sharp turn that takes you perpendicular to your previous course. The tuna tries to follow, but its larger size makes sharp turns more difficult. By the time it adjusts course, you've already gained precious distance. You use that lead to reach a floating patch of sargassum seaweed, diving into the tangled mass of vegetation where your smaller size becomes an advantage. The tuna circles the seaweed patch for several minutes, trying to flush you out, but eventually gives up and returns to its school. You emerge from the sargassum hours later, exhausted but alive. The encounter has taught you valuable lessons about open water survival. Stay alert, stay mobile, and always have an escape plan. But it's also awakened something deeper, a growing confidence in your ability to compete in the vast blue world beyond the reef. Your excursions into open water become longer and more frequent. Each trip teaches you something new about blue water hunting, about reading currents and temperature gradients, about the behavior of pelagic prey species. Your success rate improves dramatically as you learn to exploit the three-dimensional nature of open water hunting. You discover the thermocline, the boundary layer between warm surface water and cooler depths, where temperature differences create currents that concentrate prey. Small fish and squids gather along these boundaries, feeding on the plankton that accumulates there. For a needlefish, it's like finding an underwater highway lined with restaurants. Your hunting technique evolves to match the open water environment. Instead of the ambush tactics that worked on the reef, you develop a pursuit style that takes advantage of your speed and maneuverability. You learn to herd small schools of prey fish, cutting off their escape routes and forcing them into increasingly tight formations until they're easy targets. But open water hunting also means open water predators, and they're bigger and more dangerous than anything you faced on the reef. Blue sharks patrol the deeper waters, their sleek forms cutting through the blue with silent efficiency. Marlin cruise the surface, their bills capable of impaling prey much larger than you. Most terrifying of all, schools of pilot whales sometimes pass through the area, their massive forms creating pressure waves that can be felt for miles. You learn to read the signs that indicate when it's time to retreat to safer waters. Sudden changes in the behavior of other fish often signal the approach of large predators. Temperature drops can indicate upwelling currents that bring deep water hunters toward the surface. Even changes in the color and clarity of the water can tell you when it's time to find somewhere else to hunt. The reef becomes your safe harbor, the place you return to when open water becomes too dangerous, or when storms make surface hunting impossible. But it's no longer home in the way it once was. You're outgrowing the limited opportunities it provides, and your instincts are pulling you toward the vast hunting grounds of the open ocean. At 10 inches long, you've officially entered the adult phase of needlefish development. Your body has reached the streamlined perfection that makes your species one of the ocean's most efficient predators. Your jaw now extends nearly a quarter of your total body length, lined with dozens of razor-sharp teeth that can grab and hold even the most slippery prey. Your coloration has fully matured into the blue-green camouflage that makes you nearly invisible when viewed from below against the bright surface water. From above, your darker back blends perfectly with the deep blue of open ocean. This countershading will be crucial for survival as you venture into waters where much larger predators hunt. The transformation brings new capabilities, but also new responsibilities. You're no longer just trying to survive. You're becoming a predator that other creatures need to fear. Your hunting success rate has improved dramatically, and your prey size has increased to match your growing appetite. But with increased size comes increased visibility to the apex predators that rule the open ocean. You've reached the point where the reef can no longer sustain you. The hunting grounds that once seemed abundant now feel cramped and overfished. Your presence affects the behavior of smaller fish, making them more cautious and harder to catch. It's time to make the transition that every successful needlefish must eventually make, leaving the safety of the reef for the vast opportunities and dangers of the open ocean. The decision isn't conscious. It's driven by instincts that have been building for months. One morning, instead of hunting in your usual reef territories, you swim straight out into the blue water and keep going. Behind you, the coral formations shrink into the distance until they're just a dark smudge on the horizon. Ahead lies nothing but endless blue, your new home, your new hunting ground, and quite possibly your grave. The open ocean is nothing like the reef. There are no landmarks, no familiar territories, no safe hiding spots carved into coral walls. Just endless blue in every direction, stretching from the surface far above to depths that disappear into darkness below. The water moves differently here too, massive currents that can carry you hundreds of miles without you even realizing it, temperature layers that shift like invisible barriers, and pressure changes that affect everything from your buoyancy to your hunting ability. Your first week in open water nearly kills you 3 times. The prey is different, faster, more alert, traveling in tighter schools with better coordination. These fish have survived in an environment where there's nowhere to hide, and they've developed reflexes that make reef fish look sluggish by comparison. Your initial hunting attempts are disasters, with entire schools of potential prey disappearing before you can even get close, but you adapt because you have to. Starvation isn't an option when you're burning calories constantly just to maintain position in the current. You learn to read the subtle signs that indicate where prey might be concentrated, changes in water color that suggest plankton blooms, temperature boundaries where different species gather, even the behavior of seabirds far above that dive when they spot schools of small fish. Your first major success comes when you encounter a massive school of flying fish. They're moving in formation just below the surface, their oversized pectoral fins spread wide as they glide through the water. Flying fish are built for escape. When threatened, they can burst from the water and glide for hundreds of yards through the air. But they have one weakness: they can't change direction while airborne. You position yourself ahead of the school, calculating their trajectory and speed. When the lead fish are directly below you, you dive straight down with explosive speed. The flying fish see you coming and do exactly what their instincts tell them to do. They launch themselves into the air to escape, but you've anticipated this response, and you follow them up, breaching the surface just as they begin their glide. In the air, the flying fish are helpless. They can't dive back down, can't change course, can't do anything but glide in a straight line until gravity takes over. You grab one in mid-flight, your jaws clamping down on its streamlined body before both of you crash back into the water. It's a technique you've never seen before, never been taught, but it works perfectly. The success gives you confidence, but confidence in open water can be deadly. You start taking bigger risks, pursuing larger prey, venturing into areas where the watercolor suggests deeper, more dangerous territory. For several days, luck stays with you. You catch flying fish, small mackerel, even a juvenile dorado that makes the mistake of hunting alone instead of with its school. Then you encounter something that changes everything: a blue marlin. It appears without warning, rising from the depths like a living torpedo. The marlin is massive, easily 15 times your length, with a sword-like bill that could impale you without slowing down. Its dark blue back and silver sides shimmer as it moves, and its dorsal fin cuts through the water like a knife edge. This is what apex predation looks like: pure, focused lethality wrapped in streamlined perfection. The marlin isn't hunting you specifically. It's working a school of skipjack tuna, hurting them with surgical precision. But you're in the area, and in the ocean, being in the wrong place at the wrong time is often fatal. The massive fish spots you as it circles the tuna school, and for a moment, those ancient eyes lock onto yours. You don't move, you don't even breathe. Any sudden motion might trigger the marlin's strike reflex, and at this distance, there would be no escape. The marlin considers you for several heartbeats that feel like hours, then dismisses you as too small to bother with. It returns its attention to the tuna, leaving you trembling in its wake. The encounter teaches you about the ocean's true hierarchy. You thought you were becoming a formidable predator, but compared to creatures like the marlin, you're still just a small fish trying to survive in a big pond. The realization is humbling, but also educational. You start paying more attention to the signs that indicate when apex predators are in the area. Sudden changes in the behavior of other fish, pressure waves that suggest something large moving nearby, even subtle changes in water temperature that might indicate a big animal's passage. Your hunting strategy evolves to become more cautious, but also more sophisticated. Instead of chasing prey directly, you learn to anticipate their movements and position yourself along their escape routes. You discover that many species follow predictable patterns: flying fish that always glide in the same direction when spooked, small tuna that consistently dive to the same depth when threatened, squid that invariably jet backward when attacked from the front. A school of bullet tuna becomes your testing ground for these new tactics. They're fast, smart, and travel in tight formations that make individual targeting difficult. Your first few attempts at hunting them fail completely. They're too quick to catch with direct attacks, too coordinated to be confused by feints and false charges. But you notice something about their escape pattern. When threatened from above, they always dive in a specific formation. The school splits into two groups that angle away from each other at precise angles. It's an effective anti-predator response that confuses most hunters, but it also creates a predictable gap right in the center of the formation. You test your theory on the next encounter. Instead of attacking the edges of the school where the tuna expect threats to come from, you dive straight through the middle of their formation, timing your approach for the exact moment they begin their split maneuver. The technique works perfectly. You grab a tuna right from the center of the school while the others are still executing their escape response. The success rate of this center split technique is remarkable, but it only works once per school. After that first strike, the tuna modify their behavior, closing the gap you exploited. You have to constantly develop new approaches, new angles of attack, new ways to predict and counter your prey's defenses. It's like an endless chess match, played at high speed in 3 dimensions. Your size continues to increase, and with it, your appetite. 12 inches now, then 14. The small fish that once satisfied your hunger become inadequate snacks. You need larger prey, but larger prey means more dangerous hunting. A 2-inch anchovy can't hurt you, even if it wanted to, but a 6-inch mackerel has sharp fins and a powerful tail that can inflict real damage if you're not careful with your attack angle. You learn this lesson the hard way when you attack a school of Spanish mackerel without proper preparation. Your strike connects, but instead of a clean kill, you end up in a wrestling match with a fish that's nearly half your size and fighting for its life. The mackerel's dorsal fin slices across your flank, leaving a painful gash that bleeds into the water. Blood in open water is like sending up a flare signal to every predator within miles. You release the mackerel and focus on getting away from the area as quickly as possible, but the damage is done. Within minutes, you can see shapes moving in the deeper water below. Sharks, drawn by the scent of blood in the water. A blue shark appears first, its sleek form rising from the depths with mechanical precision. Blue sharks are built for efficient, long-distance travel, and this one has probably followed your blood trail for miles. It circles below you, assessing the situation with those cold, calculating eyes that have remained unchanged for millions of years. You can't outrun a blue shark in a straight chase, and you can't dive deeper without moving into its preferred hunting territory. Your only option is to stay near the surface where your superior maneuverability might give you an advantage. The shark seems to understand this too, because it doesn't attack immediately. Instead, it continues circling, waiting for you to make a mistake or for the wound to weaken you further. The standoff lasts for over an hour. The shark maintains its patient patrol while you hover near the surface, trying to minimize movement to avoid attracting more attention. Your wound slowly stops bleeding, but the scent trail is already in the water, spreading with the current and potentially drawing more predators from vast distances. Finally, the blue shark loses interest and disappears back into the depths. Either it decides you're not worth the effort, or it detects something more promising elsewhere. You wait another hour before moving, just to be sure it's really gone, then swim as fast as you can away from the area. The encounter teaches you about wound management in open water. Unlike the reef, where you could hide in coral crevices until injuries healed, open water offers no sanctuary. Any wound that bleeds thus becomes a beacon for predators, and you have to keep moving regardless of pain or discomfort. You develop a more careful approach to attacking larger prey, focusing on techniques that minimize the chance of injury during the struggle. Your hunting grounds expand as your confidence grows. You learn to follow the major current systems that carry nutrient-rich water and the prey species that feed on it. The Gulf Stream becomes a highway of opportunity, its warm water packed with flying fish, small tuna, and squid. But it's also a highway for much larger predators, and you have to constantly balance the excellent hunting opportunities against the increased risk of becoming someone else's meal. A pod of dolphins enters your hunting area one afternoon, their sleek forms cutting through the water with playful efficiency. Dolphins are complex predators, intelligent, social, and capable of sophisticated hunting strategies that put most fish to shame. They're also large enough to eat you without thinking twice about it, but they generally ignore needlefish unless they're actively hunting. You watch from a safe distance as the dolphins work together to hunt a school of mackerel. Their coordination is flawless. Some dolphins drive the school toward the surface, while others position themselves to cut off escape routes. Still others take turns striking into the concentrated mass of fish, each attack precisely timed to maximize success while minimizing energy expenditure. It's a masterclass in cooperative hunting that makes you reconsider your own solitary approach. But needlefish aren't built for pack hunting like dolphins or tuna. Your streamlined body and explosive acceleration are designed for individual strikes, not coordinated group tactics. You file the observation away anyway. Understanding how other predators hunt can help you avoid becoming their prey. The dolphins finish their hunt and move on, leaving behind a scatter of fish scales and the faint taste of blood in the water. You move in to investigate, hoping to find wounded survivors that might make easy prey. But the dolphins were thorough. Nothing remains but empty water and the lingering scent of their passage. Your body reaches 16 inches, putting you solidly in the adult size range for your species. The growth brings new capabilities. Your strike range now extends nearly 4 inches, giving you the reach to attack prey from distances that would have been impossible when you were smaller. Your swimming speed has increased dramatically too, with your powerful tail now capable of launching you through the water at velocities that surpass even experienced pelagic fish. But size also brings new challenges. You're now large enough to be considered worthy prey by predators that previously ignored you. Mahi-mahi start paying attention when you hunt near their territories. Wahoo occasionally investigate your movements, though they usually decide you're not worth the effort. Most concerning of all, you've noticed that marlin and sailfish sometimes alter their course when they spot you, as if evaluating whether you might make an acceptable meal. The open ocean's food web becomes clearer as you grow larger and encounter more of its participants. Everything eats everything else, with size being the primary determining factor in who eats whom. But it's not a simple hierarchy. Speed, intelligence, and hunting strategy can all trump raw size when the conditions are right. You witness this during an encounter between a school of yellowfin tuna and a much larger mako shark. The shark is clearly the apex predator in terms of size and power, but the tuna are faster and more maneuverable. When the shark attacks the school, the tuna don't flee. Instead, they mob it, darting in from all sides to deliver quick bites before spinning away. The shark tries to focus on individual targets, but the tuna's coordination makes this impossible. Every time it turns toward one fish, 3 others attack from different angles. The harassment continues for several minutes until the shark, frustrated and probably wounded, decides to find easier prey elsewhere. The lesson is clear. In open water, survival isn't just about individual capabilities. It's about understanding the complex relationships between different species and knowing when to fight, when to flee, and when to hide. You're still learning these lessons, still making mistakes that could prove fatal if you're not careful. A school of small barracuda teaches you about the danger of overconfidence. They're only slightly smaller than you individually, but they hunt in a coordinated pack that makes them far more dangerous than their size would suggest. You spot them working a bait ball and decide to try the same opportunistic hunting strategy that worked with the tuna school months ago. But these barracuda are smarter and more aggressive than the tuna were. When you approach their hunting area, several of them break away from the main attack to investigate you. Their silver forms slice through the water with predatory intent, and you realize too late that you've made a serious miscalculation. The barracuda don't attack immediately. Instead, they begin herding you away from their hunting grounds, using the same techniques they employ on their prey. Some position themselves above you, others below, still others on your flanks. Gradually, they force you into deeper water where escape routes become limited. You try to break free from their formation, but every escape attempt is anticipated and blocked. The barracuda move with fluid coordination, each individual responding instantly to changes in your position. It's like being trapped in a living net that tightens with every movement you make. The attack comes without warning. The lead barracuda accelerates toward you with explosive speed, its razor-sharp teeth aiming for your midsection. You twist desperately to avoid the strike, feeling the water pressure as those jaws snap shut inches from your flank. But the attack was just a distraction. 2 other barracuda strike simultaneously from different angles. You manage to avoid the second attack by diving straight down, but the third barracuda anticipates this move and positions itself directly in your path. Its jaws open wide, and you can see straight down its throat as you hurtle toward what seems like certain death. At the last possible second, you remember a technique from your reef hunting days, the spiral escape. Instead of continuing your dive, you spin your body into a tight corkscrew pattern that takes you around the barracuda's strike zone. The maneuver works, but barely. You feel the scrape of teeth against your dorsal fin as you spiral past. The near miss breaks the barracuda's formation, and you use the confusion to escape toward the surface. The pack doesn't pursue. They've already lost interest and returned to their original prey. But the encounter leaves you shaken and more aware of your limitations in open water politics. Your hunting strategy becomes more conservative after the barracuda incident. You avoid areas where pack hunters are operating and focus on prey species that don't have sophisticated group defense mechanisms. Flying fish become your primary target. They're abundant, nutritious, and their escape strategy actually makes them easier to catch once you understand their patterns. The flying fish technique you developed months ago continues to evolve. You learn to predict not just where they'll launch from the water, but where they'll land when their glide ends. This allows you to position yourself for a second strike if you miss the first one, dramatically improving your success rate. But flying fish hunting requires you to spend time near the surface, which exposes you to aerial predators. Frigate birds patrol the waters above, their sharp eyes scanning for fish that break the surface. These birds are pirates of the sky. They rarely catch their own fish, preferring to steal from other predators or scavenge from hunting frenzies. You learn this when a frigate bird spots you during one of your flying fish hunts. The bird doesn't dive directly at you like a pelican or booby would. Instead, it follows you from above, waiting for you to catch something. When you finally succeed in grabbing a flying fish, the frigate bird immediately swoops down and tries to steal your meal. The aerial attack comes without warning. Massive wings block out the sun as the frigate bird descends like a feathered missile, its hooked beak aimed at the fish in your jaws. You dive immediately, but the bird follows you underwater for several feet before giving up and returning to the surface. The incident teaches you to be more aware of threats from above. Open water hunting means exposure from all directions. Predators can attack from below, from the sides, or even from the air. Your survival depends on maintaining constant vigilance and never becoming so focused on hunting that you forget about the bigger picture. Your body reaches 18 inches, officially making you a large needlefish by any measure. Your jaw now extends nearly 5 inches, lined with over 100 needle-sharp teeth that can grab and hold even the most slippery prey. Your swimming speed has increased to match your size. You can now accelerate from 0 to nearly 30 miles per hour in less than 2 seconds. The increased size and speed open new hunting opportunities. Schools of larger fish that were once off-limits now become viable targets. Small tuna, medium-sized mackerel, even juvenile wahoo occasionally fall prey to your attacks. But larger prey means more dangerous hunting, and the margin for error continues to shrink with every encounter. A school of skipjack tuna tests all your skills when they enter your hunting territory. These fish are built for speed and endurance, with powerful tails and streamlined bodies that make them incredibly difficult to catch. They travel in tight schools that move like single organisms, changing direction instantaneously without any apparent signal between individuals. Your first attempts at hunting the skipjack are complete failures. They're too fast to catch with direct attacks, too coordinated to be confused by feints, and too experienced to fall for the center split technique that worked on smaller tuna. You spend hours following the school, looking for weaknesses in their formation or behavior patterns you can exploit. The breakthrough comes when you notice that the skipjack always feed in the same pattern. They circle bait schools in a clockwise direction, taking turns to strike at the outer edges. This creates brief moments when individual tuna are separated from the main group, focused on feeding rather than watching for predators. You position yourself inside the circle, hiding among the bait fish that the tuna are hunting. It's a risky strategy that puts you directly in the path of the tuna's feeding runs, but it also gives you perfect positioning for ambush strikes. When a skipjack breaks away from the school to attack the bait, you're ready. Your attack comes from below and behind, taking advantage of the tuna's forward momentum to increase the impact of your strike. Your jaws close around the skipjack's body just behind its gills, and your needle-sharp teeth find purchase in its flesh. The tuna struggles violently, its powerful tail beating against the water as it tries to escape. But you've learned to hold on during these struggles. Your jaw muscles have strengthened with your growth, and your teeth are designed specifically for gripping slippery prey. The skipjack's efforts to escape only drive your teeth deeper into its body, and after several seconds of thrashing, it goes limp. The successful hunt marks a new phase in your development. You're no longer just surviving in open water. you're thriving. Your hunting success rate has improved dramatically, and your prey size has increased to match your growing appetite. But success in the ocean is always temporary, and new challenges are constantly emerging to test your survival skills. A group of pilot whales passes through your hunting area, their massive forms creating pressure waves that can be felt for miles. Pilot whales are intelligent cetaceans that hunt deep water squid, but they're also opportunistic feeders that will take fish when the opportunity arises. Your size puts you well within their prey range, though they're more likely to ignore you unless you do something to attract their attention. You watch from a safe distance as the whales work together to hunt a school of large squid. Their coordination is even more sophisticated than that of dolphins. They use echolocation to track prey in the dark depths, communicate with complex vocalizations that carry for miles, and execute hunting strategies that require planning and foresight. The hunt takes place in water too deep for you to observe directly, but you can see the evidence when the whales surface, beaks and tentacles from giant squid that they've brought up from the depths. These are creatures from a world you'll never see, inhabitants of the deep ocean where sunlight never penetrates and pressure would crush your air-filled swim bladder. The pilot whales finish their hunt and continue their migration, leaving behind only the faint traces of their passage. But their presence serves as a reminder that the open ocean contains layers of life that extend far beyond your experience. You hunt in the sunlit surface waters, but below you lie entire ecosystems adapted to perpetual darkness and crushing pressure. Your hunting grounds continue to expand as your confidence and capabilities grow. You learn to follow the seasonal movements of prey species, timing your own migrations to coincide with the abundance cycles that drive ocean productivity. When flying fish spawn in warm surface waters, you're there to take advantage. When small tuna follow bait schools along current boundaries, you position yourself along their routes. But the ocean is constantly changing, and strategies that work in one area or season may fail completely in different conditions. Water temperature, current patterns, prey abundance, and predator populations all vary on scales from hours to years. Your survival depends on adapting to these changes faster than your competitors and predators can adapt to you. A sudden drop in water temperature brings new challenges when a cold current pushes into your hunting area. The temperature change drives away many of the warm water species you've been targeting, replacing them with cold water fish that have different behaviors and escape strategies. Your hunting success rate plummets as you struggle to adapt to the new prey base. The cold water fish are generally slower than their warm water counterparts, but they're also more cautious and better at detecting threats. Schools of herring that should be easy targets prove frustratingly elusive, scattering at the first sign of a predator and regrouping in formations that make individual targeting nearly impossible. You're forced to develop new hunting techniques optimized for cold water prey. Instead of the explosive strikes that worked on flying fish and small tuna, you learn to use patience and stealth. Cold water slows your metabolism slightly, but it also reduces the energy costs of hunting, allowing you to spend more time stalking individual targets. A school of juvenile cod becomes your testing ground for these new techniques. They're slower than the warm water fish you're used to hunting, but they're also more alert and travel in tighter formations. Your approach has to be perfect. Any premature movement will scatter the entire school and waste hours of careful positioning. You spend nearly an hour approaching a feeding group of cod, moving so slowly that your progress is almost imperceptible. The key is to avoid triggering their lateral line systems, the sensory organs that detect water movement and pressure changes. Every movement has to be smooth and gradual, mimicking the natural flow of water around obstacles. When you're finally in striking range, the attack has to be perfect. There won't be a second chance if you miss, and the cod's compact body shape makes precise targeting crucial. You aim for the area just behind the gills, where your teeth can find purchase without hitting bone or thick scales. The strike connects perfectly. Your jaws close around the cod's body with surgical precision, and your teeth penetrate deeply enough to ensure a secure grip. The fish struggles briefly, but your hold is firm, and within seconds it goes limp. The rest of the school scatters immediately, but you've already achieved your objective. The successful adaptation to cold water hunting demonstrates your growing maturity as an apex predator. You're no longer dependent on specific prey species or hunting conditions. Instead, you can modify your techniques to match whatever the ocean provides, whether that's fast-moving warm water fish or cautious cold water species. Your body has reached 20 inches now, making you a formidable presence in open water. Fish that once ignored you now give you a wide berth, recognizing the threat you represent. Your strike range extends nearly 6 inches, and your swimming speed has reached levels that allow you to chase down all but the fastest pelagic species. But size also brings unwanted attention from the ocean's apex predators. Large sharks now see you as worthy prey, and their hunting strategies are far more sophisticated than anything you've faced before. A mako shark begins following you one afternoon, its presence detected not by sight, but by the subtle pressure changes that indicate something large moving in your vicinity. Mako sharks are the ocean's ultimate pursuit predators, built for speed, endurance, and relentless hunting pressure. Unlike the ambush predators you're used to dealing with, Makos will chase prey for miles if necessary, using their superior size and power to eventually wear down their targets. The chase begins when you spot the shark rising from deeper water, its torpedo-shaped body cutting through the blue with mechanical precision. There's no point in trying to hide. Makos hunt by scent and electrical detection, and they can track prey across vast distances. Your only option is to run and hope that you can outlast the shark's pursuit. The race stretches across miles of open ocean. The mako is faster in straight-line speed, but your smaller size gives you advantages in maneuverability and energy efficiency. You use every trick you've learned, sudden direction changes, dives to different depth layers, even brief sprints toward the surface where the shark's bulk makes it less maneuverable. But the mako is patient and experienced. It doesn't exhaust itself trying to match your every movement. Instead, it follows at a steady pace, gradually closing the distance whenever you're forced to swim in straight lines. The shark knows that eventually you'll run out of energy or make a mistake that gives it the opportunity to strike. The pursuit continues for over an hour, with the distance between you and the shark slowly but steadily decreasing. Your muscles are beginning to burn from the constant exertion, and your swimming efficiency is starting to decline. The mako, meanwhile, shows no signs of fatigue. Its massive bulk contains energy reserves that dwarf your own. Salvation comes from an unexpected source. A school of pilot whales appears in the distance, their dark forms moving in formation across your path. The whales aren't interested in either you or the shark, but their presence changes the dynamics of the chase. Large whales create acoustic disturbances that can interfere with a shark's electrical sensing, and their sheer size makes them formidable obstacles to navigate around. You dive directly toward the whale school, using their massive bodies as cover. The mako hesitates as you disappear among the whales, its predatory algorithm disrupted by the presence of creatures far too large to be prey. You weave between the massive forms, using their bulk to break the shark's visual contact and mask your electrical signature. The whales pay no attention to your presence. You're too small to register as either threat or opportunity. When you emerge on the far side of the whale school, the mako has lost the scent trail. You watch from a safe distance as it circles the area where you disappeared, its movements becoming increasingly erratic as it searches for traces of your passage. After several minutes of fruitless hunting, the shark gives up and disappears back into the depths. The encounter teaches you about using the ocean's larger inhabitants as inadvertent allies. Whale pods, dolphin schools, even large fish aggregations can provide temporary sanctuary from pursuit predators. But this strategy only works if you understand the behavior patterns of these potential allies and can predict their movements accurately enough to intercept their paths. Your escape from the mako marks another milestone in your development as an open water survivor. You've now successfully evaded pursuit by one of the ocean's most efficient predators, demonstrating that size and speed aren't the only factors that determine survival. Intelligence, adaptability, and the ability to use environmental features creatively can overcome significant disadvantages in raw physical capability. The weeks following your encounter with the mako bring a new level of confidence to your hunting. You start targeting larger and more challenging prey, pushing the boundaries of what's possible for a needlefish of your size. A school of medium-sized mackerel becomes your testing ground for these expanded capabilities. Spanish mackerel are formidable prey, fast, intelligent, and equipped with sharp fins that can inflict serious wounds on careless predators. They travel in loose schools that provide protection without limiting individual maneuverability, and their striking silver coloration makes them difficult to track visually in bright water. Your approach has to be perfect. Unlike the tight formations of smaller schooling fish, the mackerel's loose arrangement means you can't rely on predictable movement patterns. Each fish follows its own course within the general school structure, making individual targeting much more challenging. You select a mackerel that's feeding slightly apart from the main group, focused on a small bait fish, and temporarily unaware of your presence. The attack window is narrow. You need to close the distance and strike before the mackerel notices you, but after it commits to its own feeding strike, so it can't easily change direction. The timing has to be perfect. You wait until the mackerel begins its acceleration toward the bait fish, then launch your own attack from below and behind. Your approach angle is calculated to intersect the mackerel's path at the precise moment when it's most vulnerable, committed to its strike, but not yet in contact with its prey. Your jaws close around the mackerel just behind its head, your teeth finding purchase in the soft tissue behind its gill covers. The fish explodes into violent activity, its powerful tail beating against the water as it tries to shake you loose. But you've learned to anticipate this response, adjusting your grip to maintain contact despite the mackerel's struggles. The fight lasts nearly 30 seconds, an eternity in the fast-paced world of pelagic predation. The mackerel's superior size gives it strength advantages, but your specialized jaw structure is designed specifically for holding struggling prey. Your needle-sharp teeth work like backward-facing barbs, making it impossible for the mackerel to pull free once you've established your grip. Finally, the mackerel's struggles weaken and then stop entirely. You've successfully taken prey nearly half your own length, demonstrating the effectiveness of your evolved hunting apparatus. But the effort has been exhausting, and you need time to recover before attempting another hunt of similar magnitude. The successful mackerel hunt attracts attention from other predators in the area. Blood and struggle vibrations in the water act like dinner bells for opportunistic species, and you soon find yourself sharing the area with competitors who might decide you look like a more appealing target than whatever they were originally hunting. A small group of blacktip sharks arrives first, their sleek forms cutting through the water with purposeful efficiency. Blacktips are smaller than makos or tigers, but they're still formidable predators capable of taking prey your size without difficulty. They circle the area where you killed the mackerel, testing the water for additional scent trails. You remain motionless, hoping to avoid detection until the sharks lose interest. But one of them picks up your scent trail and begins following it with systematic precision. Unlike the mako's relentless pursuit, this hunt is more methodical. The blacktip investigates each potential hiding spot along your path, gradually working its way toward your current position. The approach gives you time to plan an escape route, but it also builds tension as the shark gets closer. You can see it now, barely 50 yards away, its head sweeping from side to side as it follows your scent trail. In another minute, maybe less, it will be close enough to spot you visually. Your escape strategy relies on speed and misdirection. Instead of fleeing directly away from the shark, you swim parallel to its approach, staying just outside its visual range, while the scent trail continues straight ahead. The technique works. The shark follows the chemical trace past your position, giving you the opportunity to slip away undetected. But the incident reinforces an important lesson about open water hunting. Every successful kill creates risks as well as rewards. The blood, vibrations, and scent released during predation attract other predators who might view you as either competition to be eliminated or prey to be consumed. Timing your escapes and managing your visibility become as important as the hunting skills themselves. Your hunting grounds shift constantly as you follow the seasonal movements of prey species and the current patterns that concentrate them. The ocean is never static. Temperature gradients move, upwelling zones shift, and the abundance cycles that drive marine productivity change on timescales from days to decades. You learn to read these changes through subtle environmental cues. Changes in water color can indicate shifting nutrient concentrations. Temperature variations suggest different water masses mixing or separating. Even the behavior of seabirds provides clues about subsurface conditions. Diving species concentrate over areas of high prey density, while surface feeders indicate different types of productivity. A convergence zone, where two major currents meet, becomes your new primary hunting area. These boundaries create upwelling that brings nutrients from deeper water to the surface, triggering plankton blooms that support entire food webs. Flying fish concentrate along the convergence to feed on the abundant small organisms, making them easy targets for your specialized hunting technique. But convergence zones also attract larger predators for the same reasons that make them appealing to you. Tuna schools patrol these areas regularly, their coordinated hunting putting pressure on the same prey species you depend on. Marlin and sailfish cruise the boundaries, their massive forms moving through the water with predatory intent. You have to time your hunts carefully to avoid conflicts with these larger predators. Early morning and late evening seem to offer the best opportunities. The big pelagics tend to hunt during peak daylight hours, leaving windows of reduced competition during the transition periods. Your technique for hunting flying fish continues to evolve as you gain experience with their behavior patterns. You've learned to predict not just their launch angles and glide distances, but also their landing strategies. Flying fish don't just glide randomly. They aim for specific water conditions that offer the best chances of avoiding predators waiting below the surface. The fish prefer to land in areas where surface currents create small disturbances, waves, foam lines, or temperature boundaries that can mask their re-entry. By positioning yourself along these preferred landing zones, you can intercept flying fish as they complete their glides, often catching them before they've fully regained their underwater mobility. A particularly large flying fish tests your refined technique one morning. The fish launches from nearly 100 yards away, its oversized pectoral fins catching the wind as it glides toward your position. But instead of following a straight path, it adjusts its trajectory twice during the glide, using air currents to extend its flight time and distance. You track the fish's movement and calculate its likely landing point based on wind direction and the location of surface disturbances. Your prediction proves accurate. The flying fish splashes down exactly where you expected, but it's ready for underwater threats and immediately begins a high-speed escape dive. Your response has to be instantaneous. The moment the flying fish hits the water, you accelerate upward from your waiting position 20 feet below. The fish sees you coming and tries to change direction, but it's still transitioning from aerial to aquatic locomotion and can't match your underwater agility. Your jaws close around the flying fish's streamlined body just behind its enlarged pectoral fins. The fish struggles briefly, but your grip is secure, and its aerial adaptations actually make it less effective at underwater escape maneuvers. Within seconds, the struggle ends, and you have another successful hunt to your credit. But success in the open ocean is always temporary, and new challenges constantly emerge to test your survival skills. A pod of false killer whales enters your hunting area, their dark forms moving in tight formation as they patrol for prey. These cetaceans are apex predators, capable of taking fish much larger than you, and their intelligence makes them unpredictable and dangerous. Unlike true killer whales, false killer whales are smaller and less aggressive toward other marine mammals. But they're still formidable predators, with sophisticated hunting strategies and the size advantage to make any encounter potentially fatal for you. Your best strategy is avoidance. Stay out of their way and hope they pass through your territory quickly. The whale pod seems to be following a specific course, possibly tracking a school of large fish or squid. You maintain a safe distance and observe their hunting behavior, hoping to learn something that might prove useful in future encounters. Their coordination is impressive. Individual whales take turns diving to different depths, while others maintain surface watch, creating a three-dimensional search pattern that covers vast volumes of water. Their prey turns out to be a school of large squid that they bring up from considerable depth. You watch from afar as the whales share their catch, noting their social behaviors and communication methods. These observations might seem irrelevant to your own survival, but understanding the behavior patterns of large predators can help you predict their movements and avoid dangerous encounters. The false killer whales finish their hunt and continue their migration, leaving you free to resume your own hunting activities. But their presence serves as another reminder that the open ocean contains predators operating on scales far beyond your own experience. Your survival depends on understanding not just your immediate environment, but the larger patterns of predator and prey movement that shape oceanic ecosystems. Your body has reached 22 inches now, putting you among the larger needlefish in your species' size range. Your jaw extends nearly 7 inches, and your tooth count has increased to over 150 needle-sharp points. Your swimming speed has reached impressive levels. You can sustain speeds that would exhaust most other fish your size, and your burst acceleration can reach over 40 miles per hour. The increased size and capability bring new opportunities, but also new risks. You're now large enough to be considered worthwhile prey by most pelagic predators, while still being small enough that escape rather than confrontation remains your primary defense strategy. The middle-sized niche in open water is particularly dangerous because you're too big to hide effectively, but not big enough to intimidate serious threats. A school of yellowfin tuna tests your new capabilities when they move into your hunting area. These are not the small juveniles you encountered months ago, but adult tuna weighing hundreds of pounds each. They travel in loose formation, their massive forms cutting through the water with mechanical precision. Individual yellowfin are far too large and powerful for you to attack directly, but their hunting activities create opportunities for smaller predators. When the tuna work a bait ball, the chaos and confusion of their feeding frenzy often scatters smaller fish that become available to opportunistic hunters. You position yourself well outside the tuna's immediate hunting zone, but close enough to capitalize on their activities. When they begin their coordinated attack on a school of sardines, you're ready to intercept the fish that escape the main carnage. The tuna's attack is devastating in its efficiency. The sardine school, which moments before was moving in tight coordination, explodes into chaos as massive forms slice through it from multiple angles. Individual sardines scatter in every direction, their schooling instincts overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the predatory assault. Your timing has to be perfect, too early, and you'll be caught in the tuna's feeding zone where your presence might attract unwanted attention. Too late, and the scattered sardines will have reorganized or been consumed by other opportunistic predators. You strike just as the tuna's initial assault peaks, targeting a group of sardines that have broken away from the main chaos and are attempting to regroup in your direction. Your approach is swift and decisive. There's no time for the careful stalking that characterizes your usual hunting style. Your first strike connects with a sardine that's still disoriented from the tuna attack. The fish barely struggles as your jaws close around it. The shock of the tuna encounter has left it in a weakened state that makes it easy prey. You swallow quickly and immediately target a second sardine before the survivors can organize an effective escape. The opportunistic hunting strategy proves highly effective, allowing you to take multiple prey in rapid succession while the tuna are focused on their own, much larger targets. But it also exposes you to risks that you haven't faced before. Hunting in an active predation zone means dealing with the chaos and unpredictability that comes with multiple large predators operating in the same space. A wahoo appears at the edge of the feeding frenzy, its streamlined body moving with deadly purpose. Wahoo are built for explosive speed, capable of acceleration that makes even your impressive burst capability look sluggish. This one has been drawn by the same scattered prey that attracted you, but it sees you as direct competition for resources it considers its own. The wahoo doesn't attack immediately. Instead, it positions itself between you and the remaining scattered sardines, effectively cutting off your access to easy prey. Its message is clear: find somewhere else to hunt, or face the consequences of challenging a predator twice your size. You have seconds to make a decision. Fighting is not an option. The wahoo's speed and size advantages make confrontation suicidal. Retreating means abandoning a rich feeding opportunity that might not come again for days. Your only viable option is to outmaneuver the larger predator using your superior agility in tight spaces. You dive straight down, using the vertical dimension to escape the wahoo's immediate threat zone. The larger fish follows, but its streamlined body is optimized for horizontal speed rather than vertical maneuvering. You spiral downward in a tight helix that forces the wahoo to constantly adjust its trajectory, burning energy and reducing its efficiency. At 50 feet depth, you suddenly reverse direction and rocket back toward the surface, angling your ascent to bring you up behind the wahoo's position. The maneuver works perfectly. By the time the larger predator realizes what's happening and turns to follow, you're already back in the sardine zone and grabbing another quick meal. The wahoo gives up after this display of your maneuvering capability. It's not worth expending more energy on a competitor that can make itself too difficult to catch. The fish returns to hunting the larger scattered prey while you finish collecting the smaller targets that its presence initially denied you. But your success attracts attention from an even more dangerous source. A blue shark materializes from the deeper water, drawn by the commotion and the scent of blood from multiple predators feeding in the same area. Blue sharks are patient hunters that excel at exploiting the chaos created by other predators' activities. This shark doesn't rush into the feeding frenzy like the tuna or wahoo. Instead, it circles the entire area at a distance, assessing the situation and looking for opportunities. Its approach is methodical and calculated. It's searching for wounded or exhausted prey that can be taken with minimal energy expenditure. You realize with growing alarm that you fit that profile perfectly. Your recent hunting activities have left you with elevated metabolism and reduced energy reserves. If the shark decides you're worth pursuing, you'll be at a significant disadvantage in any extended chase. The shark's circling pattern gradually tightens as it homes in on your position. You can see its dead eyes tracking your movement, calculating strike angles and escape routes with predatory intelligence. Unlike the wahoo's direct challenge, this feels like being evaluated by a cold, efficient killing machine. Your escape strategy has to account for the shark's patient hunting style. Simply fleeing won't work. Blue sharks are built for persistence and will follow scent trails for miles if necessary. Instead, you need to make yourself appear like an unprofitable target, something not worth the energy investment required to catch. You reduce your swimming speed and adopt a steady, purposeful course away from the feeding area. No sudden movements, no panicked flight responses, just the behavior of a predator that knows where it's going and isn't concerned about potential threats. The technique works because it contradicts the shark's expectations for prey behavior. The blue shark follows for several minutes, maintaining its patient surveillance while you continue your deliberate withdrawal from the area. Gradually, the distance between you increases as the shark's interest wanes. When a group of wounded sardines presents easier targets, the shark abandons its pursuit of you in favor of more accessible prey. Your escape reinforces important lessons about open water survival. Sometimes the best defense is not showing fear or weakness, even when facing overwhelming odds. Predators are often looking for easy meals rather than challenging fights, and projecting confidence can sometimes deter attacks that would otherwise be inevitable. The feeding frenzy disperses as the tuna school moves on to hunt in other areas. Within an hour, the water has returned to its normal clear blue state, with only scattered scales and a faint scent of blood to mark what happened. But the experience has taught you valuable lessons about capitalizing on the hunting activities of larger predators while managing the increased risks that come with operating in active predation zones. Your hunting grounds continue to shift with the seasonal movements of prey species and the current patterns that concentrate them. You've learned to anticipate these changes, following the subtle environmental cues that indicate when and where feeding opportunities will develop. A thermocline boundary becomes your new primary hunting area as cooler water pushes up from the depths, creating a temperature gradient that concentrates both plankton and the small fish that feed on them. The boundary acts like an underwater highway, with different species traveling along the temperature break as they follow their preferred water conditions. Your position along this boundary puts you in contact with prey species you've rarely encountered before. Schools of lanternfish rise from the depths during evening hours, their bioluminescent organs creating moving constellations in the darkening water. These deep water fish are unfamiliar with surface predators and often prove easier targets than the more experienced pelagic species. But hunting along the thermocline also exposes you to deep water predators that follow their prey upward during vertical migration periods. Six-gill sharks occasionally patrol the boundary, their primitive forms moving with ancient efficiency through the temperature gradient. These sharks are generally sluggish compared to their surface-dwelling cousins, but their size makes them formidable threats to any fish in their vicinity. You develop new hunting techniques optimized for thermocline environments. The temperature difference creates subtle currents that can be used to approach prey from unexpected angles. Cold water is denser than warm water, and the boundary between them creates opportunities for nearly silent approaches if you understand how to read the water movement patterns. A school of juvenile hake becomes your testing ground for these new techniques. They're positioned right along the thermocline, feeding on small organisms that concentrate at the temperature boundary. Their feeding behavior makes them temporarily less alert to predators, but they're still capable of rapid escape responses if they detect threats. Your approach uses the thermocline itself as camouflage. By swimming along the temperature boundary, you blend with the visual distortion created by the different water densities. The hake can't see you clearly until you're close enough to strike, giving you significant advantages in the initial attack phase. The technique works perfectly for your first strike. Your target has no warning before your jaws close around its body, and the kill is clean and efficient. But the attack scatters the rest of the school, and they quickly learn to avoid the thermocline area where the strike occurred. This forces you to develop follow-up strategies for continued hunting in the same area. Simply repeating successful techniques rarely works in open water. Prey species adapt quickly to new threats and modify their behavior accordingly. Your survival depends on staying one step ahead of these adaptations, constantly evolving your approach to match changing prey responses. You learn to vary your attack angles, timing, and positioning to prevent prey species from developing effective countermeasures. Sometimes you hunt from above the thermocline, other times from below. Your strike timing varies from immediate attacks to extended stalking approaches. The constant variation keeps prey species guessing and maintains your hunting effectiveness over extended periods. Your body reaches 24 inches, making you a truly formidable presence in open water. Your jaw now extends over 7 inches, and your tooth count exceeds 200 needle-sharp points. Your swimming speed has reached levels that allow you to chase down all but the fastest pelagic species, and your endurance has improved to match your increased size. The growth brings new opportunities for hunting larger prey species that were previously off-limits. Medium-sized mackerel, small tuna, even juvenile billfish occasionally become viable targets. But larger prey means more dangerous hunting, with increased risks of injury during the struggle phase of attacks. Your first attempt at hunting a small yellowfin tuna teaches you about these increased risks. The tuna is only slightly smaller than you, but it's built entirely for speed and power. When your attack connects, instead of the relatively brief struggle you're accustomed to, you find yourself locked in combat with a fish that has no intention of giving up easily. The tuna's response to your attack is explosive and violent. Its powerful tail beats against the water with tremendous force, creating pressure waves that disorient you and threaten to break your grip. Its streamlined body twists and rolls in ways that put tremendous stress on your jaw muscles, testing your ability to maintain contact. The struggle lasts over a minute, an eternity in the fast-paced world of pelagic predation. Several times you nearly lose your grip as the tuna executes particularly violent escape maneuvers. But your specialized jaw structure proves equal to the challenge, your backward-angled teeth working like living barbs that make escape increasingly impossible. Finally, the tuna's struggles weaken and then stop entirely. You've successfully taken prey that rivals your own size, demonstrating your evolution into a true apex predator within your size class. But the effort has been exhausting, and you need extended recovery time before attempting another hunt of similar magnitude. The successful tuna hunt attracts attention from competitors who recognize the significance of your achievement. Several other needlefish appear in your hunting area, drawn by the scent and disturbance of your struggle with the tuna. These are fish similar to your own size, and they represent direct competition for the limited resources available to apex predators in your size range. The confrontations that follow test your ability to defend territory and resources against equally capable competitors. Unlike encounters with different species, where size or behavioral differences create clear advantages, fighting other needlefish requires matching speed against speed, agility against agility, and predatory instinct against predatory instinct. Your first challenger approaches with obvious aggressive intent, its streamlined body held in the classic needlefish threat posture, head down, jaw extended, dorsal fin raised. The message is clear. This fish considers your hunting area to be territory worth fighting for, and it's prepared to back up its claim with violence. The confrontation begins with a series of parallel swimming displays, each fish trying to demonstrate superior size and condition without committing to actual combat. But when neither fish backs down, the displays escalate to direct challenges, high-speed passes that bring both combatants within striking distance. The actual fight is brief but intense. Needlefish combat relies on speed and precision rather than prolonged wrestling matches. Your opponent strikes first, its jaws snapping toward your flank in an attempt to inflict a disabling wound. You counter with a spinning maneuver that brings your own jaws around toward its head. Neither strike connects cleanly, but both fish sustain minor wounds from glancing contacts. The taste of blood in the water changes the dynamic of the confrontation. Continued fighting will attract larger predators that might consume both combatants, regardless of who wins. You make the decision to withdraw, not from fear, but from tactical calculation. Defending this particular territory isn't worth the risk of attracting sharks or other large predators. There are other hunting grounds available, and survival is more important than pride. Your opponent doesn't pursue as you leave the area, suggesting that it reached the same conclusion about the risks of continued conflict. The encounter ends with both fish intact and able to hunt elsewhere, demonstrating the value of knowing when to fight and when to withdraw. The territorial confrontation teaches you important lessons about resource management in open water. Unlike reef environments where physical boundaries create natural territories, open water territories are fluid and constantly changing. Success depends on knowing when to defend resources and when to seek opportunities elsewhere. Your hunting strategies continue to evolve as you encounter new prey species and environmental conditions. The open ocean presents an endless variety of challenges, each requiring specific adaptations of your basic predatory toolkit. Flexibility and adaptability become more important than any single hunting technique. A massive school of sardines tests your ability to adapt to overwhelming abundance. The school stretches for hundreds of yards in every direction, a living silver cloud that pulses and flows through the water like a single organism. Individual sardines are easy prey for a fish of your size, but the school's coordinated behavior makes targeting specific individuals extremely difficult. Your initial attacks are frustrated by the sardine's collective response to threats. Every time you approach the school's edge, thousands of fish move in unison to create a gap around your position. It's like trying to bite a cloud. Every strike encounters empty water where fish had been moments before. You realize that conventional hunting approaches won't work against this level of coordination. Instead, you need to think like the sardines themselves, anticipating their collective responses and positioning yourself where their own defensive behaviors will work against them. The breakthrough comes when you notice that the sardine school's movements are influenced by underwater topography they can't see. A seamount rises from the depths ahead of the school's path, creating currents and pressure waves that will force the sardines to change direction when they encounter it. You position yourself at the point where the school will be compressed against the seamount's influence, creating a situation where their usual escape behaviors will be constrained by the underwater terrain. When the sardines encounter the seamount's pressure wave, they react exactly as you predicted, compressing into a tighter formation that makes individual targeting possible. Your strikes are swift and efficient, taking advantage of the brief window when the sardines' defensive coordination is disrupted by the environmental obstacle. You manage to take several fish before the school adapts to the new conditions and resumes its fluid defensive movements. The successful adaptation demonstrates your growing sophistication as a predator. You're no longer just reacting to hunting opportunities. You're anticipating and creating them by understanding how prey species respond to environmental conditions. This level of predatory intelligence puts you among the elite hunters of the open ocean. But intelligence and capability also bring increased attention from predators that recognize you as a significant threat to their own hunting success. A group of dolphin fish, mahi-mahi, begins following your activities, apparently trying to capitalize on your hunting success by scavenging your kills or competing for the same prey. Mahi-mahi are intelligent and adaptable predators with a size advantage to make direct confrontation inadvisable. But they're also opportunistic rather than aggressive, more interested in easy meals than in eliminating competition. Your strategy focuses on making yourself unprofitable to follow rather than trying to drive them away through confrontation. You vary your hunting patterns to become unpredictable, changing locations frequently and using techniques that don't create obvious scavenging opportunities. When you make kills, you consume them quickly and move away immediately to avoid attracting the mahi-mahis to concentrated feeding areas. The strategy works because it requires the mahi-mahis to expend energy following you without guaranteed returns. After several days of unprofitable pursuit, they abandon their surveillance and return to their own hunting activities. The experience teaches you about managing competitive relationships with larger predators through behavioral adaptation rather than direct confrontation. Your success in the open ocean has reached a level where you're no longer just surviving. You're thriving as one of the area's most effective predators in your size class. Your hunting success rate has stabilized at levels that provide abundant nutrition for continued growth and energy reserves for dealing with unexpected challenges. But success in the ocean is always temporary, and new challenges can constantly emerge to test your survival skills. The approach of your first breeding season brings physiological and behavioral changes that will alter everything about how you interact with your environment. Hormonal shifts begin affecting your metabolism, your territorial behavior, and your risk assessment calculations. The changes start subtly: increased aggression toward other needlefish, heightened awareness of chemical signals in the water, and growing restlessness that makes it difficult to maintain established hunting patterns. Your body begins preparing for the energy demands of reproduction, building fat reserves, and modifying your internal chemistry. These changes coincide with seasonal environmental shifts that bring new prey species into your hunting area while driving away others. The timing isn't coincidental. Needlefish reproduction is synchronized with peak prey abundance to ensure that breeding activities don't compromise survival during resource-scarce periods. A massive convergence of baitfish creates feeding opportunities unlike anything you've experienced before. Schools of anchovies, sardines, and herring merge into super schools that stretch across miles of ocean surface. The concentration attracts predators from vast distances, creating a temporary ecosystem focused entirely on predation and consumption. Your role in this feeding frenzy tests every skill you've developed during your journey from vulnerable larva to apex predator. The abundance of prey makes hunting easier, but the concentration of competitors makes survival more challenging. Every successful hunt must be balanced against the increased risks of operating in an environment packed with hungry predators. The feeding frenzy marks the transition from your growth phase to your reproductive phase, setting the stage for the final chapters of your life cycle. You've successfully navigated the challenges of larval survival, juvenile development, and subadult competition. Now you face the ultimate test: passing your genes to the next generation while surviving in an ocean that never stops trying to kill you. The massive baitfish aggregation pulses with life as millions of small fish move in coordinated waves across the surface. Flying fish launch themselves in desperate attempts to escape the feeding chaos below, while seabirds dive from above to capitalize on the concentrated prey. You position yourself at the edge of this living maelstrom, calculating how to maximize your own hunting success while avoiding the larger predators that have converged on the area. Your approach has evolved far beyond the simple ambush tactics of your youth. Now you read the complex dynamics of multi-species feeding frenzies, understanding how different predators interact and where opportunities exist in the chaos. A group of blacktip sharks works one section of the bait school while a pod of dolphins coordinates attacks on another area. Between these major predatory events, windows of opportunity exist for smaller hunters like yourself. You time your entry into the feeding zone to coincide with a temporary lull in shark activity when the blacktips have moved to deeper water to digest their recent kills. Your strikes are swift and efficient. You target disoriented baitfish that have been scattered by earlier predatory attacks, taking advantage of their reduced defensive coordination. But the feeding frenzy environment is constantly shifting, and what seems safe one moment can become deadly the next. A school of yellowfin tuna appears without warning, their massive forms cutting through the water with mechanical precision. These aren't the juveniles you've encountered before, but fully adult fish weighing hundreds of pounds each. The tuna's hunting strategy is devastating in its efficiency. They don't chase individual baitfish. Instead, they create coordinated pressure waves that concentrate entire sections of the bait school into tight balls, then take turns slashing through these concentrations with their powerful tails. The technique kills dozens of fish with each pass, creating a feeding efficiency that puts your individual strikes to shame. Your position suddenly becomes extremely dangerous as the tuna's herding activities push concentrated masses of baitfish directly toward you. Being caught in the middle of a tuna feeding run would be instantly fatal. Their powerful tails could break your spine with a glancing blow, and their massive mouths could swallow you without them even noticing. You dive straight down, using the vertical dimension to escape the tuna's horizontal feeding pattern. But as you descend, you realize you're not alone in seeking deeper water refuge. Other predators have made the same calculation, and the deeper water is becoming crowded with fish trying to avoid the tuna's devastating surface attacks. A large barracuda hovers just below you, its silver body perfectly motionless as it waits for the surface chaos to subside. Further down, you can make out the distinctive shape of a wahoo, also maintaining position until conditions improve. The temporary ceasefire between normally competitive predators demonstrates the overwhelming nature of the tuna's predatory dominance. The vertical migration strategy works until the tuna school decides to work deeper water as well. Their coordinated attack drives the bait schools downward, compressing all the refuge-seeking predators into an increasingly confined space. What started as an escape route is rapidly becoming a trap. Your response has to be immediate and decisive. Instead of continuing downward with the other refugees, you angle your swimming to take you horizontal to the tuna's attack pattern. The maneuver is risky. It requires swimming across their path rather than away from it, but it's the only way to escape the compression zone. The technique works, but barely. You slip past the edge of the tuna formation with yards to spare, feeling the pressure waves from their massive bodies as they sweep past. Behind you, the water erupts in feeding chaos as the tuna tear into the compressed bait schools, but you're already clear of the immediate danger zone. Your escape brings you to the periphery of the feeding frenzy, where conditions are less intense, but opportunities still exist. Wounded and disoriented baitfish drift away from the main chaos, making easy targets for opportunistic predators. You capitalize on these opportunities while maintaining awareness of your position relative to the major predatory activities. The feeding continues for hours, as different predator species take turns exploiting the concentrated prey. Sharks work the deeper edges, while dolphins coordinate surface attacks. Seabirds dive from above, while billfish slice through the outer edges of the schools. Each predatory event creates new opportunities, while also generating new dangers for smaller hunters. Your hunting success during the frenzy is remarkable. You manage to take more prey in a single day than you typically catch in a week of normal hunting. But the constant vigilance required to avoid becoming prey yourself is exhausting. Every moment requires split-second decisions about threat assessment and positioning. As the day progresses, the massive bait schools begin to disperse. Predatory pressure and natural mortality have reduced their numbers significantly, while survivor groups scatter in different directions to avoid continued predation. The temporary ecosystem that supported the feeding frenzy dissolves as quickly as it formed. You find yourself alone in water that just hours before teemed with life. The sudden transition from intense activity to relative quiet is disorienting after the constant stimulation of the feeding frenzy. But the experience has provided valuable lessons about large-scale predatory events and your role within them. Your body has reached 26 inches now, placing you among the largest needlefish in your species' range. Your jaw extends nearly 8 inches, and your tooth count approaches 250 needle-sharp points. Your swimming capabilities have reached their peak efficiency. You can sustain high speeds that would exhaust most other fish while maintaining the burst acceleration needed for successful strikes. The physiological changes associated with approaching sexual maturity become more pronounced as hormonal shifts prepare your body for reproduction. Your metabolism increases to support the energy demands of gamete production, while your behavior becomes increasingly territorial and aggressive toward potential competitors. These changes coincide with subtle alterations in your hunting patterns. You begin selecting prey not just for nutritional value, but for the energy efficiency of capture. Difficult hunts that you might have attempted during your growth phase are now avoided in favor of targets that provide maximum return on energy investment. Your hunting territory expands as your increased size and capability allow you to defend larger areas against competitors, but territorial expansion also brings you into contact with other large needlefish who have reached similar stages of development. The resulting confrontations are more serious than the brief skirmishes of your younger days. A particularly large male needlefish challenges your claim to a productive hunting area along a current boundary. This fish is slightly larger than you, with battle scars that suggest extensive experience in territorial conflicts. The confrontation begins with the ritual displays typical of needlefish aggression, but quickly escalates to direct physical conflict. The fight is unlike anything you've experienced before. Both combatants are evenly matched in size and capability, turning the conflict into a test of pure determination and pain tolerance. Your opponent's strikes are powerful and accurate, opening shallow wounds along your flanks that sting in the salt water. But your own attacks are equally effective, and you manage to inflict similar damage on your challenger. The taste of blood in the water adds urgency to the conflict. Continued fighting will attract sharks and other large predators that might consume both combatants regardless of the outcome. The turning point comes when your opponent makes a tactical error, overcommitting to a strike that leaves him briefly vulnerable. Your counterattack connects solidly just behind his gills, your teeth finding purchase in the soft tissue of his throat. The wound isn't fatal, but it's serious enough to end his willingness to continue the fight. Your challenger withdraws, blood streaming from his throat wound as he retreats to deeper water. You've successfully defended your territory, but the victory comes at a cost. Your own wounds require healing time, and the blood scent may attract unwanted predatory attention. The territorial conflict marks your final transition to full adult status. You're no longer a growing fish trying to survive in a dangerous environment. You're an established predator, defending resources and preparing for reproduction. The psychological shift is as significant as the physical changes that accompany sexual maturity. Your hunting patterns stabilize around the territories you've claimed through combat and successful defense. These areas provide reliable access to prey concentrations while offering defensive advantages against both competitors and predators. The establishment of permanent territories marks the end of your nomadic juvenile period, but territorial success brings new responsibilities and challenges. Defending established hunting grounds requires constant vigilance against encroachment by other predators. Your reputation as a formidable territorial defender spreads among the local predator community, reducing direct challenges, but also eliminating the element of surprise in hunting situations. Prey species within your territory begin adapting to your presence, modifying their behavior patterns to account for a permanent predatory threat. Schools that once moved predictably through your hunting areas start varying their routes and timing. Individual fish become more alert and quicker to flee when they detect your presence. You're forced to continually evolve your hunting techniques to stay ahead of these adaptations. Strategies that worked during your nomadic period become less effective as local prey populations learn to recognize and avoid your typical attack patterns. Success requires constant innovation and tactical flexibility. The approach of breeding season brings new instincts and behaviors that will define the final phase of your life cycle. Chemical signals in the water trigger physiological responses that have been dormant since your larval stage. Your body begins producing pheromones that will attract potential mates, while also signaling your reproductive readiness to competitors. These changes coincide with the seasonal movements of other mature needlefish toward traditional spawning areas. The aggregation of breeding adults creates temporary communities focused entirely on reproduction, mating competition, and the continuation of genetic lineages that stretch back millions of years. Your successful survival from helpless larva to dominant adult predator has prepared you for this final challenge. The skills, experience, and physical capabilities you've developed during your growth phase will now be tested in the ultimate evolutionary arena, the competition to pass your genes to the next generation. Here you can find the next story. Until then, see you soon.